Welcome, people. Welcome. It's been a while since we did the last Tactical Zone, but no, you cannot talk about football. You can't talk about Liverpool when it's all rosy. Here we are. Liverpool have got problems. Liverpool are not playing well, but Liverpool do sit at the top of the league. But it doesn't feel like that. If you go on Twitter, you go anywhere and talk Liverpool, you talk the Reds. And Liverpool fans are concerned. Even the most optimistic fans are concerned at the moment of how we're playing. We look too open. We're conceding too many goals. We're conceding on set pieces. When we've got the ball, we're not getting our main creators on the ball. And Florian Wirtz's question is always popping up. We're not getting Mohamed Salah involved in the game. Isak's touching the ball 4 times in about 30-40 minutes. What's going on? Why is the ball not coming to the likes of Isak and Florian Wirtz? Does he need to be on the left? Does he need to be in the false 9? Does he need to be in the number 10? Or does Dominic Szoboszlai need to be in the back in the number 10? You know what? It's the irony when Dominic Szoboszlai was seen as the guy who's not good enough to receive on the half turn. He just works hard, he runs, and that's all he does. But even those people who was absolutely going for Dominic Szoboszlai, I really appreciate what he did last season. But welcome back. It's the latest Tactical Zone. We're going to have a chat. I promised you we're going to do some live shows. We're going to do some pre-recorded shows as well. But so this is a pre-recorded show. But I've got my phone here. When you do go, Lamu's behind. Give us away, Lamu. Good lad. And then once you go have the bird's eye view, I've got my phone open. You guys send in your questions today, and I'm going to do my best to literally scroll down those questions and get in as many as I can. Let's go to the Crystal Palace game and talk about some of the problems that Liverpool had with Florian Wirtz. On Saturday afternoon, I said I was told that he could play, and he is playing later on in the day on the left-hand side, and it came to a bit of a surprise, and it didn't work. It did not work, and I feel that it was the wrong game to play Florian Wirtz on the left-hand side. If we go back to those games where Liverpool played effectively a midfielder on the left-hand side who is basically going to spend the most of the time in this left half space and occupy these pockets, you feel like it's going to be this sort of thing. So if you've got the 4-2-2, it was who was it again? McAllister. Let me just go back. I keep on forgetting. McAllister and Gravenberch, Florian Wirtz coming in here, and then you had Salah. So we had this sort of thing, and you heard the manager talk about they wanted to create central overloads. But the problem is that we have Palace's defence here. The problem Liverpool had, Palace were defending in this sort of thing, where you had Hughes and Kadama, you had the two fullbacks in, you had Pino and Sarr, and then you had Mateta. So he wanted to break lines. I felt like it was the wrong game to play Florian Wirtz in these channels here, and it seemed really, really crowded in there. It felt like the space wasn't in there. The 5-4-1 of Crystal Palace's, it felt like the distances were perfect. They had really, really willing runners to get into those areas. If they broke and won the ball, they've got a big lad to win the ball on the halfway line, and then they've got really, really good willing runners in Sarr and Pino, and then the fullbacks as well. But we're just going back to Florian Wirtz, and when it's so congested in the midfield, you don't want your winger to be here. I've had this seat here for many, many years at Anfield, and the amount of times just in the last 12 months I've heard the manager say Cody wide, Lucho wide, is because even when you face a 4 at the back, it's important to stretch the opposition. But even more so when you need to stretch the opposition of a 5 at the back, and we know how organised and disciplined the defence of Crystal Palace is. So it brought his own problems as well. And when you've got Florian Wirtz occupying the channels here, I've always said, if you're going to do that and let him roam around and play that Philippe Coutinho role, if you like, you've got to make sure this player, whoever is playing on the left-hand side of midfield, is a player who can do that at times. So you've got the dynamic. Even when I'm just going to remove Crystal Palace's players just to make it more clear. Just bear with me. I'm sure the defensive option will come. So if you've got here, I'm just not going to set the rest of the team here. So if you've got Isak here, Salah, you can have here if you want. If you've got Florian Wirtz coming off the line here, you have to make sure the guy who plays on the left-hand side of midfield can do that, can do this. So you've got the dynamic of, Isak, you've got Florian Wirtz, and you've got, what do you call him, McAllister, or anyone who's playing from the left-hand side. If he isn't, you have to make sure the left-back is holding width. So this is my problem with Florian Wirtz playing on paper at left wing. We know he's not going to play that role as a left winger, and that's why we've just put him here as the left-sided 10. But I just do not like, and the problem with the manager is I think the manager doesn't like it as well, or he didn't go all in on Saturday afternoon, because when I was talking about the setup Liverpool had, the manager is obsessed with the 3-2 build-up here. And if you've got the right back going up here, you've got Ibu Konate, you've got Verge, and you've got Kirkes. And if you've got McAllister and you've got Gravenberch here, you've got the right back stand doing. We do generally do a 3-3, but if you've got him at the top of the box, and then you've got Florian Wirtz floating around, between the lines, you have to make sure this lad, he does like that stability. And now we'll come to how Kirkes is playing that role, but at the moment the manager is telling him to stay and being part of that build-up and then going. Now we know Kirkes has got the legs to play that role. We do know that. But just going back to that dynamic is, if you're going to do it, then you have to make sure that the fullback is high, to make sure you've got him running up and down that flank. If you've got McAllister here coming as a third centre-back, which I feel at times is okay, especially against a defensive press. But the problem with Crystal Palace is they let you just come on the halfway line, or even just before the halfway line. They don't go all out. They are happy to sit in a 5-3-2, in a 5-4-1. Now, against an aggressive press, you sometimes do need, we've seen Gravenberch come here and split the two centre-backs. And more recently, we've seen Curtis Jones come in this, Tony Cruz position. It allows the left-back to get higher. Now, if you've got Florian Wirtz in here, you've got Curtis Jones here, and you've got Kirkes or Robertson starting here, then it does work, and it helps the ball manipulation, because you've got a footballer in McAllister, you've got a footballer in Curtis Jones to help and aid build-up. We know Liverpool's build-up is not great at the moment. One, because we've lost a unicorn of a player who I believe was probably around 50% of our build-up. And now that you can tell my cough's not gone at the moment, and this is why this should be a lot, Luke. It should be a lot warmer, Lamu. This is what's probably making it worse. But it's water. I might need it in a bit. So this is the dynamic that I've been talking about. That if you've got Florian Wirtz coming off the touchline, and then you have to make sure that Kirkes is high enough to make sure he's running onto the ball. And I feel like it was just halfway house, that you wanted him to do it, but you were scared the fact that McAllister is going to be here in the defensive line. So if we push everyone up here and we lose the ball in this 3-2-5, you've got Salah, you've got Isak, you've got Kirkes, and you've got Florian Wirtz. And if you lose the ball and it goes to this side, This is what I said, as he was shit scared. McAllister was in the last line of the defensive transition, and we saw a few times where McAllister was covering here, the ball was coming on the halfway line. I think they were attacking this way rather than that way, but it doesn't really matter. It's the message is the same, that McAllister gets exposed, and you don't want McAllister running back because we know he's got a lack of legs. Now, so in terms of McAllister coming here and occupying the third centre-back options in build-up, it aids it, but it's got its own problems of getting back into midfield and making sure we don't lose the ball. But also, if McAllister is playing, then he can't get involved in making sure that he does this at times. So we've got remove that, and we've got Kanate, we've got Verge, we've got Gravenberch, we've got Szoboszlai, and then we've got Bradley here. You can tuck in Salah a bit. So we're going back to this dynamic, and the fluidity between this triangle it's not great, because one, you've got McAllister coming here. Has he got the legs to join up the attack? But okay, let's say the Palace defense is in a 5-4-1, and it's more of a settled play situation. We've got McAllister here. Wirtz is off the touchline. We've got Kirkes, and we've got McAllister. So we've got the triangle. But if you want the fluidity of McAllister holding width at times, and Wirtz off the touchline because he wants to occupy the inside space, and Kirkes on the inside, then I don't like the fact that our left midfielder is expected to build up and aid build up here, get into midfield and be part of a defensive transition and be part of the defensive line. But in settled play, at times we don't have the fluidity of interchanging positions. And how many times have you seen that triangle last season? Let's just go back and talk about the triangle that we had last season, not on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side. And the example I'm going to give of having the flexibility of your right-sided player, in this case Dominic Szoboszlai, and how he interchanged, and the relationship that we had with Trent, Szoboszlai and Salah. So we had Gravenberch, we had Dominic Szoboszlai, we had Salah here, and we had Trent. So this triangle, in terms of having the flexibility of anyone, so Salah could come inside, we could have the right back really high and getting involved in right wing options. Obviously, he's not gonna take on a player. We can whip in across, as we saw for many years. And then Dominic Szoboszlai could be acting as the width fixer. We could have the right back coming into these channels, the right half space channels, Salah holding width and interchanging and connecting with the running right back, and still having Dominic Szoboszlai hold width and cover these sort of positions. And if we were in a defensive transition, the amount of times Dominic Szoboszlai got back into those right back spaces. So this is the example of having a triangle. Every single person in that triangle, in Salah, Trent and Dominic Szoboszlai, being able to interchange in positions but also get back. And that's what I call an optimal. Yes, it was a vertical, it was an attacking, it was a direct a trio. But in terms of legs, in terms of interchanging positions, in terms of holding width, it was, for me, one of the best right-sided dynamics in the world. The amount of creativity you had, but you also had proper players, especially in Dominic Szoboszlai, willing to get back and stop the counter-attacks. And that is the benefit of Dominic Szoboszlai in the number 10 position. And this is what he bought Liverpool, the amount of counter-pressing. And he was one of the best counter-pressers, because in a 4-2-4, this is what was our general shape, he used to press, and the number 10 still presses for Arne Slot from the front. And if he presses the centre back, he can go back. As we know, Salah likes to cheat a bit and stay there. So if you've got a high centre back here, not a high centre back, a high full back, rather than, and this is what I don't like about the 4-2-4. If you've got Salah cheating a bit, he won't come past here. So what needs to happen is Gravenberch needs to go there. And what happens? It isolates this midfielder in McAllister or anybody else. And it's the same on this side as well. That is one of the deficiencies of the 4-2-4. So that is the problem that Liverpool had. And this is, I think, what Liverpool need to go back to, especially against really aggressive presses. And does that need to bring a change in personnel? Because what's happening at the moment is Liverpool, and I think there is a distinct and a decisive change in what happened probably about 2/3 into the season. Yes, Liverpool were on holiday and they won the league at a canter. But 2/3 into the season, a lot of the teams started pressing Liverpool in a man-to-man. Why? Is because when you, whether it was a 5-4-1, whether it's a 5-3-2, whether it was a 4-4-2, mid-block, low block, Liverpool generally had too much quality and chance creativity in making sure they got that goal. And that's not me just saying it. The stats don't lie. Liverpool were one of the best. If you're into all this XG business, Liverpool one of the highest XG performers in terms of chance creation, because they had the creativity in all areas. They might not have had Dominic Szoboszlai, the ultimate output merchant from a number 10 position, but they had Trent from that position and playing that ball here. That ball is the ball that we miss here, because at the moment we are not connecting to the number 6. That is one of the biggest problems that Liverpool have. Even if Liverpool come, and we saw it against Galatasaray, it was Gravenberch and Curtis Jones. These two players are not getting enough the ball. And one of the other problems that Liverpool are having at the moment is, it's a great thing that Ryan Gravenberch is getting the freedom to go into zone 14, this sort of zone, and once he receives it from Dominic Szoboszlai, that ball there between the lines, he's turning on sixpence, and he's got the hips, he's got the mobility to go into the box. And we saw even Mohamed Salah create that chance for him, and the ball came from this angle, and Dominic Szoboszlai was holding the disciplined 6 role, if you like, and allowing Ryan Gravenberch to make that run for the Everton goal. So on the ball, when we're in those situations, if you're not set up right, Liverpool will still find the gaps. But the problem at the moment Liverpool are having is, generally speaking, is they are over-reliant. And I mentioned and I tweeted during the Galatasaray game that 90%, I believe, 90% of our build-up is on this fella in Virgil van Dijk. And a lot of the times, and I'm just want to go back to the time when the teams were marking Liverpool in a man-to-man press, and Liverpool do have a get-out jail card. I can even remember when Mikel Arteta was, I think he used to play the 3-5-2 or the 3-4-3 system when he came in initially at Arsenal, and he said it doesn't matter what you do to Liverpool, and you can go man-to-man, and you can go really aggressive, but you've got the Virgil van Dijk ping coming from here to here, right out to Salah, and they're out, and they've bypassed the press. But when you lose a unicorn of a player in Trent, Liverpool's 50% of that build-up aid has gone, and that is one of the biggest problems that I've been talking about. And when you do lose the build-up and technical level of someone like a Trent, who can get you out, who can bypass a press, who can play a ball into midfield, he can do anything on the ball. But we also now, what has happened is, if Kerkez is here, Virgil van Dijk is here, Konate and Bradley, and this is probably one of the reasons why Mohamed Salah is not getting involved enough in a football game. What you want is your chance creators, your most creative players to make sure they're creating a lot and given them an environment to arrive in those situations. And Liverpool are just not beating the press. And teams, week in, week out, especially good teams who've got good players, who've got good duelers, because you can be, I think Preston in pre-season pressed us in a man-to-man, but Liverpool just played around them. They were just too good for them because they're in the Championship. You still need to have good players to make sure your structure is really benefiting the team on the day. So Crystal Palace, from the keeper, they do go in settled play, they go 5-3-2, 5-4-1. But from the keeper, generally speaking, nearly every team goes, when Alisson has got the ball, they push fullback to fullback. And Liverpool are struggling to play around that. And coming back to Ibu Konate, we've seen him play some diabolical, I repeat, diabolical balls, is because the increased responsibility, the increased on the ball responsibility has increased massively on Ibu Konate. So if you've got the right back at top of the box, you've got Ibu Konate, you've got Virgil van Dijk, and you've got Kirkez, and now the ball is on with Ibu. Can he find that ball to the right back? Can he find it? And if at the moment Salah is having to come here to receive the ball, and can you get Salah, or do you want Salah to be receiving the ball here in these areas? Because if the right back, in, let's call him Bradley at the moment, if he's been tracked at the moment, teams are following that player, and Salah has to connect with Ryan Gravenberch. And you feel like Salah is too deep and too wide at the moment and not involved. And that's when he gets it on the rare occasion. How many times have you seen Salah come here, pop it off for the arriving right back, and we're out, and all of a sudden the intensity of the right back has gone. But Liverpool are being targeted at the moment, and they've got the triggers. Opposition have got the triggers on Konate especially, and someone like Bradley. And if I'm really honest, I just don't think Liverpool have got the technical level at right back at the moment. And I believe this is one of the reasons why Dominic Szoboszlai has found him. Yes, Frimpong and Bradley have been injured, not the same time, but they've had their injury issues this season already. And that is one of the reasons maybe why we've seen Dominic Szoboszlai more than we expected. And some people would say the reason why we've seen him more is because of this lad, Florian Wirtz, that you're shoehorning Dominic Szoboszlai just because you need his intensity and skill set at some part of the pitch. But I believe that Dominic Szoboszlai can be that hybrid of a player. Obviously, he is not the experienced player. He sometimes needs to usher someone out. We saw him get caught on the outside and the run came on the inside for that first chance against Galatasaray, and then he conceded a penalty as well. We will see more of those moments. But in terms of profile, I think he can play that ball into midfield. If he is being told to come and interchange with Ryan Gravenberch, so Ryan Gravenberch, if you've got Wirtz in the left half space, you've got Cody Gakpo, you've got Ryan Gravenberch going from the number 6 position and being the right-sided 10, if you can play the ball into here to Ryan Gravenberch and interchange with him, then I'm sure when you've got a place here at right back, you can play the ball here as well. But we also must know that he is not a Trent. But what he is more of a hybrid compared to Frimpong and Bradley. Bradley and Frimpong play the position differently, but they're all about movement. They're all about verticality. They're all about pace and intensity and providing that movement around the chance creators. But there's no point having the chance creators in these positions, especially against a team that is going to sit off. But we don't have that the progression, the deep progression to get the ball to him. And this is one of the reasons why Salah is starved of possession and Florian Wirtz is starved of possession. And when we come, I just want to show you, when we come up against a really, really aggressive press, what the situation is. And remember, I told you that many teams sat off us and they thought, let's try to contain this Liverpool side. But if you've got half decent team, a decent organized team, and you're willing, your manager is brave enough to go man to man, and then just we know Galatasaray are not the greatest side, but their press was really, really aggressive. So they went man to man against us. That's a bit weird looking thingy. So if they go man to man and Liverpool are building up, generally speaking, Arne Slot likes to build up in a 4-2. So you've got man to man here. Move this lot out here. And then you've got your 4 centre backs. So that's Liverpool's 4-2 build up. And the problem now is right back, I don't think is good enough, whether it's Bradley or Frimpong, to connect with Kanate, who is also not great on the ball, as we know. And Ryan Gravenberch, we saw against Galatasaray lose the ball a couple of times, because at the moment when the ball is coming in, even Ryan Gravenberch is not the tempo setter of someone like a Zubamendi or even someone like a Adam Wharton, where he still shows that he's not the most natural number 6. I've talked about he's made that the position his own, and he's got different traits, Paul Pogba traits, Patrick Vieira traits, and he's revolutionizing that position. But when you need pure discipline, and this is where I probably disagree with the manager as well, where we have to make it a bit more boring. We can talk about the rotations, we can talk about the fluidity, and at times is brilliant to watch, and it confuses a man-to-man press, because when you do and when you listen to coaches all over the world, when you do come up against a man-to-man press, one of the most common ways of confusing that structure is you make sure you tell your players that, to go into zones where they're not normally associated with. So you've got Ryan Gravenberch here, he'll go here, and Dominic Szoboszlai will come here and give these two players an option. And the moment and the downside of a man-to-man press is the moment these guys think about it and it's too late. Liverpool have found the spare man and they're out, and the pitch is open. But against good teams, against really, really disciplined teams, I think this is the problem that Liverpool are having. They can't find this man. Who is this man? Is Florian Wirtz, and there was a lot of it was an outcry online saying Florian Wirtz is in really, really deep positions, and the reason why he's in deep positions is because he is trying to drag this centre back out, and if he follows him, then we've seen him lose the ball at times, but he can connect with these guys. It also leaves a lot more space for Isak, Salah, and Cody Gakpo. And we've seen many times when is this situation and that right-sided centre-back follows him, you've got Alisson with the ball, and the centre-back split, and these two strikers here are given the option to press the keeper, and you find the spare man via Ali. So it's a +1 situation in the first line. So if that doesn't happen, then if Alisson doesn't get pressed, then Alisson has got that choice to play that ball to Salah. How many times have we seen that ball to Salah? We even saw it from Alisson to Cody Gakpo against Newcastle's aggressive man-to-man press. Why do we go from Alisson to Cody Gakpo that day? Is because we had Dan Burn come across to mark Mohamed Salah, and Liverpool were playing the right policy and the right method, that you've got a lot more chances again with Cody Gakpo, with Trippier marking him, than Dan Burns marking Mohamed Salah. So that is the problem. That is one way of getting out and bypassing the press, and everyone does it. It might be boring, but it's very, very useful. We even saw Slot tell the number 9 many times, Diogo Jota, Darwin Núñez, and whoever, even Luis Diaz, to come here and try to be the spare man if Liverpool try to bypass the press. At times he was telling Diaz to go really, really narrow and get Salah and come to closer to Salah. If the ball went to Gakpo and tried to win that second ball, and the team is turned around and we're out as well and bypassed the press. But if we try to play around the press, we've just talked about the deficiencies of Kanate, the deficiencies of Bradley to connect with these two players. So I just want to finish off. If the centre back doesn't follow, going back to Florian Wirtz, if the centre back doesn't want to follow Florian Wirtz, then you've got that spare man. But even then, Liverpool cannot find this spare man, because at the moment it's 7v6, and Liverpool should be, a good elite team, which Liverpool still should be. I know it doesn't seem like it at the moment in terms of just in our performances in isolation, but we should be good enough against good sides, not even good sides, Galatasaray, a mid to low Champions League side. I know they're doing well. They've won 2-3 titles recently, but like I said, if I'm really honest, they've got some good players, but they've also got a lot of rejects as well, and we should be good enough to find that spare man. But the lack of technical level with Kanate and Bradley and Milos Kerkez is causing a lot of problem to Liverpool. And in terms of personnel, how do you improve that? So I'm just going to take them away. I will come to your questions, I promise you. And I thought this pre-recorded show will be around half an hour, 40 minutes. How long have I been chatting to for Lemo? Half an hour. Wow. I think I deserve some water. Right. So if we're going to go for the 3-2 build-up, and let's go to, and I think there was a question regarding Kerkez as well, the role of Kerkez. Why are we seeing him half the player that we saw against Bournemouth? It's because we're not allowing him, and the 3-2 build-up of Arne Slot. There we are. And this is where Kerkez is. I've talked about it previously. When he's got the ball, his body position, the way he opens his body up, his ball manipulation, he needs to be very, very comfortable. And if you get pressed, you need to make sure you find this man. At times he's found it, but many, many times he goes backwards a lot. And the problem is he is that kind of player that where he likes to be here, and you've got the left-sided midfielder, and there is a lot of relationship and chemistry between the triangles. He is that kind of fullback where he passes it inside and then he goes. That is the kind of fullback. Are we playing to his strengths? Probably not. Is he suited to the 3-2 build-up? At the moment, I'd have to say no. He isn't, because he is not a ball. Effectively, you're a left-sided centre-back here. And can you find, at times, Liverpool have played the 3-1-6. So Gravenberch is here. You've got the 2 10s, 2 8s in the 10 position, and you've got the right back here as well. So can you find, especially against a back five, defending in a 5-4-1, and Liverpool want to create a numerical advantage in the last line, can you find one of them? Can you find? And Arne Slot allows and has got the trust in Ryan Gravenberch in receiving, because he sees him as the ultimate press-resistant player. He might not be the most, I've just talked about it, the most natural, but he's got his own way in making sure he progresses the ball from here. When he receives it from Van Dijk, that is one of the best balls. But if it's blocked off, the responsibility comes from Kanate and Kerkez. And again, the ball is not coming. So this is what Liverpool need to sort out. How do you get stability in the last line? How do you get stability in defensive transitions where you're not over-committing all the time and not telling your right back to go on top of the box? And then when you lose the ball, it is absolutely madness, because the 3-1-6, it might be in the first phase, but Kerkez has to go. And in defensive transitions, you're going to be exposed when you've got Gravenberch or Szoboszlai, whoever it is who stays, and then you got the two centre backs because Cody Gakpo wants to come in this place. If you've got Kirkes here, and at times that Liverpool, especially against a really really low block, Arne Slot likes to commit seven attackers as well. That is his dream. That is his way of controlling and pinning the opposition. But it's not always the case, and at times now Liverpool's rest defence has been exposed. Ryan Gravenberch does help that. Dominic Szoboszlai does help that. But Dominic Szoboszlai helps the defensive transitions a lot more from the number 10 positions, because from there he can be the captain, if you like, in defensive transitions to stop the counter attack. The amount of attacks that he stopped or slowed down, and the Liverpool team are back in shape because he did. He was shuttling across, whether he's from here to here or here to here. It was a joy to watch, and I don't think he still gets the credit. But this season, even those haters, if I may say so, are giving him a lot of credit for. So that is the problem, Kirkes. And what type of defender do you need here then? We've seen Arsenal have got a Calafiori, but the problem and the dilemma that Liverpool have, and Arne Slot is probably thinking, is we are a possession-based team. 9 out of 10 times, we're going to have a lot more possession. So he needs some sort of creativity from that. And I said, if you want to, last night when I was watching Nuno Mendes play for PSG against Barcelona, and I said, if you want to create a left back in the lab where he can carry a ball, he can play a ball into midfield, then you make Nuno Mendes. What other defenders that are made in the lab, and you can play on the left back and on the ball play as a left-sided centre back, is someone like a Gvardiol. But those guys are probably the best in on the ball. They've got great manipulation and technical level. They're comfortable on both feet, generally speaking. And in Nuno Mendes, you have an unbelievable carrier of the ball as well. But the dilemma Arne Slot has, if he's having the 3-2 build-up, is he wants this attacker to be, this left-sided centre-back to be the stability and the stabiliser, in build-up, but also the sixth attacker when the attack develops. And this is how he's a firm believer of him breaking down that low block and creating the numerical advantage, because you've got the 6 attackers, you've got the double pivot, and this is what I think Liverpool need to go back to, the double pivot principles, whether it's in build-up, if it's an aggressive press against Arsenal, against Galatasaray, you've got the 4 and you've got the 2 here, and then you've got good stability, the angles are there, the distances are right, and how do you aid that? By adding a bit of technical ability. The problem, Liverpool, and what I'm going to say here is, I would seriously think about someone like Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez is a decent footballer. He is not a Bradley, he's not a Frimpong, because they have other qualities, as we've discussed. But I do believe he has the quality of the technical level of playing the ball here. He can give us a lot more stability in the air. He can give a lot more stability defensively. And I think it might free Kirkes to go a bit higher. The downside of that is Joe Gomez himself. Now, we've got these 3, if we're going to go with that, Joe Gomez, we've got Van Dijk, we've got Ibu Konate and Van Dijk here. The problem is these 3 centre-backs are the only centre-backs that fit at the club. And if we're really honest, if we play this week in, week out, and I'm not saying this should be our week in, week out option. If we've got Joe Gomez here playing on the big day, it will allow us more stability. I would, even on the big day, I'll come to McAllister shortly actually. So, but let's talk about the stability that Joe Gomez will give us. He can come into midfield as well if we've got McAllister and Wirtz acting as the 10. McAllister comes across and it gives us a 2-3-5 option. So we've got Joe Gomez inverting. It doesn't have to be Florian Wirtz can come here, and we've got a spare man in in build up as well. If he wants to let Florian Wirtz go, he tucks in here. He is not going to be that type of right back. He is not, and it might affect Salah a touch as well. I'm talking about it. Sorry, I'm not saying that it'll aid Mohamed Salah's involvement. But what I'm talking about is how do Liverpool look a lot better in build up, because I think that is the core problem that Liverpool have, and it'll also allow Kirkes to get higher. And the McAllister dilemma at the moment is in isolation. I think this is a big problem at the moment because one, whether it's a fitness related issue, whether it's a confidence issue, whether it's a form issue, McAllister is not playing well, and that is a big problem for Liverpool. Whether you want to build up in a 4-2 and let Florian Wirtz get the space or wherever, or find the space wherever it is, whether you let your right back go and you build up in a 3-2, whatever build up that Liverpool are doing at the moment, or using, sorry, the big problem with McAllister is he's just not playing well. And on the ball, compared to Gravenberch, compared to Florian Wirtz, compared to Dominic Szoboszlai, he has got the most tempo setting and calmness and composed nature about him, and the beauty when he's playing well, and we saw a lot of that, especially when we're further up the pitch. He can still pop it off sidewards. He can be very, very disciplined, but he's got the brain and the intelligence to be the catalyst to accelerate play and pop it off first time into break a line. He's got the ball over the top against high defenses. How many times have we seen that? I think there was a goal last year. Nunes over the top. He scored a goal. Did we equalise or did we get a winner? I can't remember, but the amount of times McAllister just played the ball over the top of the defensive line and our striker is in. He has got that tempo setting, nature, characteristics and traits. He's also got the intelligence and the skill set to accelerate play when the time is right. At the moment, he's just not playing well. So how do Liverpool add more physicality to their team? Is having two big lads over here, and that's one way of having, and that's one way of having Joe Gomez at right back as well. You're having Dominic Szoboszlai at left side in midfield. You have Cody Gakpo. You have Florian Wirtz in the 10. Isak up front. Mohamed Salah, and you've got where's Kirkes? There we are. So Gravenberch, if you've got Gravenberch here and Kirkes here, there we are. So you've still got the 3-3 build up. You've got the 3-2-5 if you want Cody Gakpo coming inside and Kirkes higher. So you've got flexibility in the first phase and second phase, and you can get really imaginative as well when you've got Florian Wirtz as a 10, you've got Kirkes top of the box if you want Cody Gakpo to hold with, and you've got the 3-1-6 as well as it develops and you pin in opposition. So I think we might even see that. The problem that is one, earlier in the career in the time Arne Slot was at Liverpool, or even later as well, he didn't see Joe Gomez as a right back. Kwanzaa, I can remember playing ahead of him. I think in the Newcastle game last season, Kwanzaa started and Joe Gomez was a centre back, or he was on the bench. But what I do know is Kwanzaa was fancied over Joe Gomez at right back, and he saw him. It was the complete opposite, where compared to Jurgen Klopp, he saw him as a right back, and he thought that the centre back days of Joe Gomez were over. But it's a complete 360 from Slot. That is the only problem. That one, does he have the trust in him at right back still? And the other problem is Liverpool have 3 centre backs, and if you're going to play them, then it increases the chances of them getting injured. But I stress that I don't think this should be the Liverpool way of setting up week in, week out. I still want a Bradley. I still want a Dominic Szoboszlai. I still want a Jeremy Frimpong. Excuse me, the cost back. On the day where we're facing a low block. So those are the problems. Some of the solutions are there. Let's see if Arne Slot goes with it. Florian Wirtz is obviously a big talking about. We've touched on it many times. What I would say is when Liverpool was setting up in this here, this was Liverpool's stock build-up. So you had Robbo, you had let me just. So it was Robbo, Van Dijk, Kanate, Trent, Gravenberch, Dominic Szoboszlai, McAllister. Liverpool's stock build-up was the beauty of McAllister, and thinking depending on where the ball was, anyone could come into a situational double pivot. So Dominic Szoboszlai could come and provide that stability with a double pivot with Gravenberch, or you could have it on the other side as well with McAllister, depending on where the ball was. But this number nine was here. So Liverpool had this 4-2-4 principles, and it gave them a lot more stability. It gave them a lot more central progression activation, and they like that. And how do you get Florian Wirtz to be here? And people want him to start here and come here. And then we've talked about McAllister coming here and Kirkes coming here. But I don't think that is what Arne Slot wants to do just yet. And we've just talked about what the problems that it incurs as well. But the problem that Liverpool have now is they can't even play Florian Wirtz from a number 9 position and do something like that. So if you got Florian Wirtz starting here, you've got Dominic Szoboszlai starting as the right-sided 8. Liverpool can't do that, where if you've got Florian Wirtz starting from the false 9 position, be the facilitator, and then you've got the 4-2-4. The problem, the reason why we won't see that is because we've got Isak and Ekitike in that position, and they will always play ahead of Florian Wirtz, and rightly so. So how do we find Florian Wirtz? And people saying, why did he perform at Leverkusen? The reason why he performed at Leverkusen is because he had the natural width from the 2 wing backs. So this is what he was used to. So you had the 2, and then he came here with the 2 10s, and the 2 wing backs completed the 3-2-5. I can't remember all their players. I know Grimaldo was there, Frimpong was there, Wirtz was here, and the other 10, Boniface was a striker. That centre backs I can't remember now. But this was, and then they had Xhaka and someone else as well. And effectively, this was Florian Wirtz. So he occupied. We know this is the position that he wants to occupy, the left half space, and he could have Grimaldo running up and down this way. He had the number 9 to connect, and they completed the central progression with the box midfield. This was Alonso's stock 3-4-2-1 converted 3-2-5 in possession, and it had really good flexibility as well, because he could defend in a 4-4-2, and he could also defend in a 5-4-1 as well, depending on who he came up against. So that is what Florian Wirtz had, the license and the width, the natural width of a Grimaldo, because in a proper system, and to be fair to Glasner, he does have 3 centre backs who are really good on the ball, and he has Mitchell and he has Munoz, who are always holding width. And then you've got the 2 10s, and you've got Mateta. So if you've got Kadama, I think that's his name, isn't it? Or Eze last year. If you've got Mitchell running up and down and your starting position, this is the big thing. When you've got the starting position of the left back on the halfway line and then going, the width fixer is the left back. It's not the left winger. As in, if you want Florian Wirtz to start from the left. So that is we have to change a lot of the structure. It's not simple, as I've just talked about how important that player is as well is in terms of covering that left wing back or full back. Sometimes you'd have to come into these positions to cover the wing back as well, even though you've got the three centre backs splitting across. But you have to be very, very comfortable on all the touch lines, and you have to be space eaters or footballers that eat up ground really, really quickly. I'm just gonna quickly run through a few questions. I did have a look at them before I came on, and I just wanted to make sure I do cover a few more as well. Yeah, I've just covered this. Adam on Twitter, he says, do you think the way to get the best out of Wirtz is to have wingers that bomb forward and try to take on the fullbacks rather than cut inside and take a shot? An example was Gakpo on Tuesday with Kirkes overlapping and he's ignored him and cut inside. But that's the problem that you're going to have. It doesn't matter who the left back is. It'll always be Robbo, it'll always be Kirkes. And, I know we all talked about Robbo and him losing his legs and he can't play 3 games in 10 days. But he still makes good runs and he can still have a game once every 10 days. And I actually believe Robertson's intelligence has probably, including myself as well, to be fair, and his timing of runs, I think that's the best way to explain it, has been very, very underestimated and underappreciated over the years as well. And whenever he's generally played this season, and that timing of runs and his delivery has been on point, to be fair to him as well. And I do feel like he needs to play a few more games as to what he's been given this season so far. But so yeah, you can have Florian Wirtz come in here, but I think the whole system is dependent on who your left-sided midfielder is. If it's Szoboszlai, we've got a chance because Szoboszlai can come here, he can go there. If the left back is not high enough and he's here, and Florian Wirtz generally is always going to come on the touch line, so we've got that dynamic. If it's McAllister, as good as he is, and I know we've just talked about his form of late, I just don't think it's going to work, and it makes our build up very, very predictable. That's what I'm saying. It makes it very, very predictable. If Konate is the answer, what is the question? We've discussed Konate, Ian. Possibly of Salah, Isak, Ekitike midfield. I can't see that, guys. I really can't. People are asking for a 4-2-4, I think. Ekitike, Isak, Salah, and Wirtz. And you want that? This is what you guys want. Even if it's Gomez, let's say, for a bit more stability. The only problem with that is, yes, you've got some really good counter-pressing options here. But what happens against a really good team? That this will work and we will play it. I can guarantee you we will see this when we're chasing a game, and the centre-back won't be Ibu Konate. It'll be Ryan Gravenberch coming into midfield here. I guarantee you, even if it's not Ryan Gravenberch, at some point, especially at Anfield, where we're 1-0 down with 15 minutes to go, we will see that. We've seen Ryan Gravenberch even at centre-back against Crystal Palace in the second half. So I'm sure we'll see that many more times. It's probably the go-to option for Arne Slot over the last 12 months. But against good teams, you need these two to be unbelievable midfielders. You need them to be technicians. You need them to be proper ground dealers. And the problem that you have is against good teams, if you're going to defend in a 4-4-2, look who your left winger and right winger in that setup is. Mohamed Salah, who we all think has lost his legs, and Florian Wirtz. Are we really going to do that? Even if you still stick to the 4-2-4 press, 4-2 press, are you going to go and expect, if it's this McAllister, or even if it's, let's say, Ryan Gravenberch and Dominic Soboslai, our probably two midfielders. I know Curtis has got legs as well, but Ryan Gravenberch will always play. We all know that. Are you going to have, and I remember a game, I think we surprised Manchester City with this sort of formation. We went with 4 attackers and we played Fabinho and I think it was Wijnaldum on the day, and we surprised Guardiola's team. But you could tell, I think we drew that game 1-1 or 2-2. It was at the City ground, and one of the goals that we conceded on that day, it was because Gini Wijnaldum didn't tuck into this position and runner ran off him because he's too used to playing in a 3 rather than a 2. But it's a very, very open attacking options. It needs your wingers to be really, really flexible and have got legs. Florian Wirtz probably can do it. Can Salah do it? No. And if they're tucked in a 4-2-4 press, and you're getting these guys to come out, and that is one of the reasons why I want Liverpool to let Salah stay here, Cody Gakpo stay here, and put your 2 fullbacks on the 2 fullbacks. The exact ploy that teams are using against us, we need to match up with them. That is one of the critical points that Liverpool need to do. If opposition are building up in a 3 or a 4-4-2, generally speaking, with a double pivot, Liverpool need to go and match up. And with Liverpool's performances have improved. Arne Slot's Liverpool have always looked better, and we've played better when Liverpool have been more aggressive. The downside is when you do lose a duel, they're in. That's fine. It's the risk and reward. But against Arsenal in the first half, against PSG in the second half, first half at Anfield, second half at Anfield as well, we will suffer in games. Big teams and really good teams will make you suffer. But our philosophy needs to be man-to-man off the ball. And I feel like Arne Slot's team has looked really, really good and aggressive when we have gone toe-to-toe with opposition's attacking setups. Right, I'll take a few more and then we'll call it a day. And scrolling down, I think we've seen a lot, There's a few questions about the diamond. I think the diamond is very, very, if you have 2 strikers, Isak, you've got Florian Wirtz here, you've got Ryan Gravenberch, you've got Dominic Szoboszlai, and let's say you've got Curtis Jones. Am I missing a thingy? 3, 7, 8, 9. Diamond. How am I playing this? There we are. And you've got Florian Wirtz. Am I missing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Yeah, that's enough. There we are. So, if you've got Florian Wirtz behind him here, behind Isak, you've got him there, you've got McAllister, you've got Szoboszlai, and Ryan Gravenberch. The problem is with the diamond is it's, again, really, really relying on your left back to hold width. And I just do not like it. At times, it gives you really good passing angles. It creates the extra man as well. And it stretches the opposition. But I think Liverpool will use these sort of 2 striker options when we're chasing games. I think it's Ekitike or Isak for me. We might see different options when Salah goes to the AFCON. But at the moment, if we're complaining there's too many changes in the Liverpool setup and we're asking for more the same relationships that we saw last year, then we have to make sure that there is stability. Have a plan. Have 2-3 plans in terms of in-game management, but not just rip up every single thing that we saw from last season. I think we leave it there. I'm just going to quickly check. If it was your choice and we offered him an appropriate contract, would you have kept Luis Diaz? 100%. I miss Luis Diaz. A lot of people said he fell over a lot. He didn't provide enough output, and there was elements of truth into that as well. And he wasn't elite, but he did have some elite traits and characteristics, especially off the ball. He improved his on the ball output as well. But in terms of when Liverpool needed to contain opposition, you saw him in left back areas. This is what Liverpool pressed with. So if they let the 10 go, especially against the Palace side or any other side that's got 5 attackers from the phase 1 and phase 2, you would see him here, and you'd have the double pivot of McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch, and Liverpool would just let Diaz come here and track the attacking fullback, especially against a 5. And sometimes you have to suffer in games, but you know, he wasn't elite, but he pressed. He could come here. He could come into the space. And I think he was a really, really good player. And this is the reason why I liked Cody Gakpo at Anfield, and I liked Luis Diaz in away games, because I think he brings the tenacity. He rolls his sleeve up. He can carry the ball up the field. He was a brilliant carrier of the ball. That famous run against Manchester City at Anfield. Yes, he had some traits that he needed to improve on, but I think he gave the team a lot, especially against in opposition of someone like Crystal Palace, that we just suffered a lot in the first half, and the game could have been over. But he had cojones, and sometimes the structure and everything goes out the window if you don't have the bravery to come into these sort of areas and say, give me the ball and we're going to play the game and control the game for 5 minutes and get the game on our terms, and then play and let our quality shine through. He had that quality, and I always talk about Sadio Mane coming to feet and showing to feet. When anyone can show to feet when everything's really hunky-dory, but the difference between a great player and a really good player is when you show to feet when the team is suffering, and you carried that team forward. And I thought he had all those. Obviously, he wasn't Sadio Mane, but I think he had all those type of traits that Liverpool are missing right now, off the ball, on the ball, and his general mentality. I think he was a winner, and it's not a coincidence he's doing well. Yes, but albeit in a weaker league, but at the end of the day, he can only beat whatever's in front of him. Okay, people, I think I've more or less covered everything. I do apologize if it's long-winded, but here we are. I like to engage with you guys. I like to take your questions. We'll probably alternate it with live shows and pre-recorded shows, and so it gives you guys a bit of a mix as well, and you can ask live questions. I'm a big firm believer of, if you want to talk about the game, then be prepared for live questions. If you can't be prepared for live questions, and I'm not talking with a big head, I feel like, if you want to talk about the game, you should be open and be willing to take live questions, because that's how it should be. Not with pre-recorded videos. Edit them the way you like, and then here we are. Quickly go through. Lemon wants to go home, I know. Do you think Slot's obsession with PSG is having a detrimental impact on our build-up and structure? Example, Kirkes in the first phase and too much rotation in midfield, which means when we lose the ball, Grav is not the 6 to protect the defence from getting countered. I touched on this. I talked about the freedom of Ryan Gravenberch. But one of the reasons why we're doing it is how teams are pressing us in a man-to-man. We're trying to confuse that structure, and also we're trying to take advantage of, because we don't have the line breaker from the right back, we're trying to get the line breaker from here. Kanate is not going to do it. Kirkes is not going to do it. Robertson is not going to do it. Frimpong is not going to do it. Bradley is not going to do it. And that's one of the reasons why Szoboszlai has played there, as we've talked about. He's probably a hybrid version of a Trent, and the intensity profile of Bradley and Frimpong. So, and if the ball is getting channeled to these two, then you've got that. Sorry, if it's Bradley, sorry, here, and Kanate, if the ball's getting channeled here, you've still got in settled play, especially against a team that's sitting off us. You've got the deep progression or progressive nature of Dominic Szoboszlai to be able to break that line consistently, and then you've got Ryan Gravenberch. But I do see what what he's saying, that it's too much fluidity. But it'll take a bit of time. But this is what I want Liverpool to be: a bit boring. If you have to pass it sideways for 5-10 minutes and gain that control, then so be it. One of them, again, structure can go out the window if you are trying to play the game at 100 miles an hour, like we tried to do, and make it the game that Galatasaray wanted us to do, and we played into their hands, and make it into a cup tie type of scenario. Is we had even the tempo setting players, the very few of them that we had, they were just trying to play the game too quick, and they were just making it a basketball game, and that's what Liverpool are playing, according to some pundits at the moment. But anyway, thank you so much, people. I hope I do these videos justice. If you think I should be somehow improving them, let me know. If some people mentioned that these counters should be labeled with numbers or names, so they don't lose. Sometimes I lose grasp of things as well, where players are. So if they've got names or numbers, that could be good. So there's a weekend job for you to buy some stickers on eBay. Okay, people, thank you so much. Let me know below the line what you think, and how Liverpool should improve, what Arne Slot should do. Where does the blame lie? Does it lie on the players? Is it a personnel issue? Is it a structural issue? Is it a manager issue? Let me know what you think. But until then, we'll catch you in the next one. Take care, and up the Reds. Bye for now.